right.
Oh, are we
It,
back?
we're back.
I
It's
had to.
Friday,
I've been
baby.
swatting the ed once. Let me start. Good afternoon. Welcome to Live Feed Reed. I'm Paul Reed, your host, and Jason Crawford is the editing man to my Jack Carson. And I've been
Yeah.
punching him in the face virtually because I'm in Tampa, Brandon. He's in Tallahassee. And today's subject just has him more riled up than if you swat a hornet's nest and stand underneath it and watch them fly.
I love this
I don't know.
subject,
I
man.
believe you put out there that this is about the Supreme Court's ruling July 1st, a couple days ago, about social media and the two different laws in Texas and in Florida that were passed basically after they were really passed after the January 6th, 2021, whatever term you want to use, protest,
Hmm.
insurrection, riot, treasonous
Oh, that
behavior,
January 6th. Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
these laws were passed after that, and they were passed also based on what some individuals believe was a what would you call it, censorship on like Facebook and back it's
Hmm.
formerly Twitter and YouTube and things of that nature about the conservative view versus the liberal view and so forth and so on.
Right.
So Texas and Florida being now it appears a little more, at least in the legislative body, not counting the people, but Florida's totally Republican legislature. I think they have a super majority, and I believe Texas is up there as well. So they tried, not they tried, they passed laws basically trying to limit how those entities, social media companies, can limit what can and can't be put on there on their sites. Um, it's interesting. The Texas court basically the Texas law went up to the federal Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal, which
Hmm.
is there's the we talked about it. The district court is the Texas judge in federal court. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal is the appellate court for that area, Texas, Louisiana, and so forth. And then it goes to Supreme Court. In Florida, we have the district court, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. Okay, so what happened? The Fifth Circuit held that Texas's law was constitutional, valid, and it could continue on, and be enforced. The 11th Circuit said Florida's law is unconstitutional, struck it, and it can't be enforced. They were very similar. And so there's a conflict. So the Supreme Court said, we'll hear it, right? We'll decide.
Yeah.
What the Supreme Court did.
I don't know. Kicked it.
They didn't decide. They punted.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's great. That's great.
They punted and said, go back in Fifth Circuit and 11th Circuit and y'all figure it out. But they did say a few things. The it was Judge Kagan was the one who wrote the opinion. But just so you'll know, there were three liberal justices and three conservative justices who ruled against Texas and Florida. So it wasn't like a one-sided deal at all. There was 6 against 3, and of course, the three conservative judges, they always rule the same way. But either way, the Texas law said they're holding the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal said that the social media companies were not protected just by the First Amendment. And
Okay.
the court 6-3 said, yeah, that's just wrong. And the Florida courts, they just said it was vague, ambiguous. There's no way to really monitor, or like you had said, monitor or enforce
How to
this
police it.
vague
Yeah.
law as written. And so y'all
Hmm.
need to go down and figure it out because we're not going to figure it out for you. We don't have time for this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one of the real problems with kicking it back to each individual state to determine is that, I mean, Facebook isn't just a US based service. Twitter isn't. Like these
Oh
are these
no.
are these the
YouTube was one of
nuances.
them.
Yeah, and YouTube and the nuances of what they have to deliver and to whom, and whether or not this state gets this service or not that service, or there's so much complexity into the implementation and delivery based off of these decisions. It
Yeah.
matters. that they
Yeah,
kick it
oh, it doesn't
back.
matter. So the Texas law, what the court says that the Texas law says they want to rank, remove, or label content. So basically control what we have to publish.
Right.
And then the Florida was, well, if you give the Democrats, the liberals, so much time and space, and then you have to let the other sides have some time and space as well.
How do you
Yeah, and the court says
measure
no.
that?
They basically held that these entities are private in nature, and that they do have First Amendment rights, and that the government cannot control what they allow or don't allow on their sites. And you and I talked about this, and
So you're saying that when the entities have First Amendment rights, you're talking about the companies.
yeah, they can
Okay.
control what they place on their platforms. And
Okay.
the
So
example
they
I
do
gave.
have that they ruled that they do have protection under the First Amendment, the companies themselves.
Yeah, but they were
Okay.
also to some degree. They left open, well, if you create a statute that somehow is not unconstitutional, maybe that will work. But
Okay.
and if you read the opinion, which again it says good luck.
And which opinion is this? Is this the one from
Uh,
Missouri versus
this was
Murphy versus Missouri?
the no, the Fifth Circuit was let's see, Net Choice, I believe, versus Paxton. Paxton would be, if I'm not mistaken, the Attorney General of
Paxton.
Texas. And
Okay.
then the other one was Moody, our girl, our Attorney General, Moody versus Net Choice. So Net Choice was both of the parties bringing the lawsuits.
Okay. Interesting.
And if you think about it, even though the Tampa Tribune is gone,
Hmm.
which I used to load onto the back of the semis back in the day when it was by
Yeah.
the
Well,
Hillsborough River. So,
times of a change.
from there to now, but the Tampa Tribune was a conservative paper. Across the bay was the Tampa Times, and they were more of a liberal paper. And
Hmm.
if you read the two, by way of example, kind of what the Supreme Court's saying is, these are newspapers, and they can more or less print what they feel, is newsworthy and what we want to share with our readers or otherwise. And I'll give you an example. The cartoon section in the Tribune, Tampa Tribune back then, was more conservative, pro gun rights and this, that, and the other. Then the Tampa Times, or the I think it was the St. Petersburg Times back in the day, if I'm not mistaken, they were more of a liberal. Okay,
Hmm.
so their cartoons were even different. And
Hmm.
then what they published in one paper or the other was different. They just did. I mean,
Yeah.
and there were no issues to my knowledge, but again, I was loading papers, I wasn't a lawyer, about that being somehow unconstitutional, about what one paper was able to print or what they didn't print versus what another paper was able to print and not able to print. And you can probably go to expand that. I think, and I don't know, but the Wall Street Journal, I don't know if they're conservative or liberal. I think they're liberal. In the New York Times. And so all of these papers, they print uh, what they want to print, and they don't print what they don't want to print.
Hmm.
You can go take that to CNN versus Fox. Fox talks about one thing, about how currently how Biden's, melting down. CNN, maybe not the last week or so, but they talk about how he's mentally healthy and so forth. No one sued on that, but somehow these social media companies, which you would agree, Facebook's private and X is private and YouTube is private, and yes, are they
Hmm.
massive in nature? Is their audience ungodly large versus the Tampa Tribune or the Tampa Times or the Wall Street
Hmm.
Journal or CNN? I mean,
Right, right, right.
exponentially bigger.
Meanwhile, all of those things that you also listed are also entities on there right? So like yes, their audience is bigger, but they're blended and they're hosted by those platforms. So it gives a little bit. I think there's still some nuances. I think this is still going to be argued. I don't think
Yeah,
it's done.
understand this. It's not over. It just got
Yeah,
sent back
yeah, yeah.
to the fifth
Right.
and the 11th. So,
Delayed
but
it. Yeah.
here's what, you know, whether you agree or not,
Hmm.
the writer of the opinion said there are basically three principles that our ruling is based on. I'm gonna read. It says
Sure.
the first principle is that the First Amendment applies to any government mandate that a government mandate,
Right.
telling you what to do or not to do,
Right. Right.
that a private organization publish or disseminate messages that the organization would prefer to exclude. So what she's saying is the government can't tell a private entity what you've got to say or what you can print. Now, I think you would agree with that. I mean, I believe that's exactly what China does. It tells its
Yeah.
TV stations, radio stations, and papers
Yeah.
what you can print and what you cannot print.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's freedom of the press, which is obviously in,
Okay. Well,
especially
anyway,
for
again,
to the First
that's the
Amendment.
first one. So
Yeah.
the second principle, Kagan said, is the First Amendment applies even if the private organization in question isn't terribly choosy and includes most messages while excluding only a few.
So then this is discrimination, right? Like
And
that's
it
the
says
issue of
a description that roughly describes social media platforms.
yeah.
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 In
Yeah.
other words, the First
Yeah.
Amendment protections still apply even if an organization only excludes the handful of messages it most disfavors.
Hmm.
That's your beef with it, is that's what they do.
Right.
But she's
Yes.
saying, but the First Amendment applies.
You know what
Okay,
I would sorry.
hold on.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, I don't
And
want
the third principle, the government cannot regulate speech because it claims to seek a balance of viewpoints for diversity of expression. That's the Florida law, the one where, well, if X, you let, the one side say something, you got to let the other.
right. And so that's
Uh,
the attempt for fairness.
right.
But
And that's it
yeah.
says, which is what elected officials in Texas and Florida said they sought.
Hmm. Yeah.
She went on to say it isn't up to the government to achieve its preferred mixture of views in the marketplace of ideas, according to the
Hmm.
majority opinion. Meaning,
Yeah.
it's not up to the government to basically,
Pick and choose.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting where you may not, just on a side note, you may not agree with what
Yeah.
these courts do, the Supreme Courts do, right?
Yeah. Right.
But at least, and they cite cases, but at least they have a reason.
So they
It's interesting
do.
how if you go to I'm gonna
They
sign
do.
if you go to a college campus and you ask these kids that were protesting the Palestinian war versus Hamas, and if you ask them they have no clue.
Right.
At least the Supreme Court, whether you agree with it, they have a reason to
Yeah.
or justification on
Right.
why they ruled the way they did.
Right. Because if they come down on one way, then it's like, okay, well then you have to apply it both ways. Like these people
Yeah,
also have to be science. And then it's like you get into these
but
hairy messes. I think
yeah,
a good place to start, not that anybody has asked me for my opinion, but I do think that a good place to start is in a similar way that we require nutritional facts to be placed on products that people buy so that they can have accurate information about what they're consuming. I believe that a good first step would be to force the companies to publish and post their censorship leanings and post active stories that they censor and what their algorithm does and make that publicly accessible, like the same way nutritional labels are on foods that you eat. I think that would go a long way into
well,
allowing the consumers to pick and choose.
listen, Einstein,
Yeah.
that's fine, but 99,999,000 out of a billion or whatever number I just said,
Yeah.
They're not going to the little asterisk and click on that.
No, I think they should make it
Now,
prominent.
maybe you have time, but the
No.
99,999,000, they're just going to read the story, look at the little
Yeah.
blip video, and move on to the next.
No, but you know what?
Maybe
Hang
you
on a
haven't
second.
paid
Hang on.
attention to why
There-
TikTok has 100 trillion, because
But
you
hold
get
on.
a 10-second little video of a boat backing into a slip, running over a
Yeah.
kid who's there,
Yeah.
and they move on to the little kid juking and jiving, walking to the batter's box and t-ball.
Okay, okay, I get it.
You can require
But-
them to post all you want.
Yeah, but hear me out. There's a huge community online that if the information were made accessible would dive in, parse the information, mine it, and serve it up for consumers to see in a packaged way where they can quickly and easily get it.
As Johnny Carson to the Ed McMahon, I disagree. There's a huge community.
There is.
There are people that dissect things of that nature. And I'll give you an example.
There's a lot.
If one of our commercials, it says Reed and Reed, and the Reed is an ampersand, and it kind of, if you look at an ampersand,
Right.
it looks like a
Yep.
G.
Yeah.
So on our softball commercial people in TV world, if you look at it, I
Yeah.
have a lady who was a retired advertising exec from New York that
No.
for 6 months
No.
after we shot that commercial, called,
No.
told me we need to stop running the commercial because it says Reed Greed.
Reed Greed.
So I
Oh
agree with you
no.
that people with no lives sit at
Yeah.
home and will dissect something. Yes, because this
Yeah.
woman
Okay.
called every time she saw that commercial and says, "You haven't removed it yet." I'm like, "Ma'am, you haven't reshot it." I said, "Ma'am, you got to understand that we had to go to a baseball facility.
Yes.
We had to
That's
pay
like a
this,
lot.
we had to do
It's
that.
not
You
simple.
just can't.
No.
6 months.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So, yes.
Can I hit a I've been hearing a commercial
I forget
lately.
A couple of our other commercials.
I've been hearing somebody
Someone will
else's
shoot
commercial.
An email or call and just dissect it and say, "Oh, I'll give you another one." One person called. If you watch the commercial, Ryan says he's pitching. He goes, "And if we miss your call, you will get called back immediately." The person says, "Well, why would you miss the call if you're going to call them back immediately?"
Yeah.
Immediately means like as soon as you hang
Yeah.
up, you're getting the call back, because that's immediate.
You're
I'm
right.
like, well, I don't. Good point.
Immediately as soon as I got the missed call.
Well,
I
that's
guess. I
not.
don't know.
Once
It's not
again,
immediate to the other person.
I'm
So
trying to think. We've.
oh, here's one.
Oh,
Here's
one.
a funny one.
Hold on.
No.
Another
Go ahead.
caller says, "Hey, do you guys actually work? Because it looks like all you do is play games. You fish, you play softball, you play I forget what other, you race cars.
Yeah.
You ever get any work done?"
Yeah, because what I saw on one recorded commercial is all I ever see of you, so that must be all you do. Yeah.
Well, I'm
There's
just
no
saying,
common
so
sense in
I would
humans
agree with,
anymore.
Ed McMahon, that there are people out there that would take the time to dissect whatever X and YouTube.
You know what?
But the other 99% of the population could give a rat's ass.
This is why I don't believe in alien sightings. Because if they searched our planet, there would be no signs of intelligent life. I'm sure of it.
Dude, here's an example of that. If you're an alien and you're watching, who do you think is running the planet?
Yeah.
The dogs. You know why?
The dolphins.
No, the
It's the
dogs. Do you know
dogs.
why?
Why?
We're picking up their poop.
Boopy. Let me go around behind you
The
with a
dog's
little
getting
bag.
walked. The
Oh,
dog
you got a
goes
little
to the
poopy?
bathroom.
Let me get that.
Oh, here is the master.
Oh, the
picking
door
up
in front of you. That's right.
Here's the
The door in
master.
front of you is closed. Oh, let me get that,
If
master.
you're an alien, who's in charge of this world? The dog.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, boy, we
Oh, my
spun off
word.
on that one. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
social media. Sorry.
Yeah, but either way, the bottom line is
Yeah.
there are other states that
Yeah.
were going to pass some of these laws as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
think they were waiting, and I think they were waiting for the Supreme Court to decide. And my guess is they probably will wait even longer to find out what Texas may do, what Florida may do. And I got to be honest, both states might just move on. Do you know why? It's unbelievably expensive
Yeah.
to continue a fight
Yeah, it
uh,
is.
at this magnitude
It
that
is.
it doesn't appear you're going to win.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
And I do think that there are some key issues that like people have to consider when they're voting for the representatives, right? And these are some of them. Like these are some of those things. We've gotten to a place where, I mean, think about all of human history. You know, we're a small section of it, but there are so many things that we deal with that we treat as if this is the way things have always been. Like, no, in my short 30 years,
You're rambling. Where are you going with this? You're putting me to sleep.
I'm saying think when you vote.
So you said something about representatives, who you vote for.
Yeah.
Then you went
Yes.
somewhere south. And I can tell you this.
Yeah.
There's a paperback book, maybe 110 pages that I read when I was a toddler.
The Constitution?
It's called Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now,
Oh yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
spun off and there's more books, but let me tell you the premise
Yeah.
of that, which is 100% accurate and true. And it was written a long time ago because I'm getting up there in age, believe it or not. Even though I
So
look good,
long.
I'm getting
And
up there
thanks
in
for all
age.
the fish.
And
Yeah.
it's the premise is the president they elect, his name is Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Right, okay.
And the premise is America,
How
which
do
is
you
what
remember that?
they elect somebody, and this guy was a fraud, or a thief, or this or that. That they elect this one individual to take the spotlight off the 535 individuals, 100 senators, 435 representatives who really run the country. So they elect this individual that everyone can point at and fight about and argue about this and that. And the same people get elected over and over and over. Even
Oh
though you
man.
and I say, if you want change, then you have to
Right.
elect different people, not a different president, different people. But you know what? No one does it. I
Yeah.
would say the people in Florida, my people
Yeah.
deserve to be in Washington,
If you
but
want change, you gotta.
not you kooks in Georgia, or not you kooks in New York, or not you
Yeah.
kooks here or there. Well, the people in California, our people, they deserve to be there, but not you kooks in Florida, not you kooks in Alabama. And guess what? The same 535 people show up day in, day out, year in, year out, decade after decade.
Yeah,
But
man.
look at the presidents that we've elected. All of them come with some point your finger at why they're Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Yeah.
Read the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Wait,
No,
right
that's a
after,
valid point. I just can't believe
right
you remember
after
his
you read
name.
right after you read the
Yeah.
other side of the law.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah,
All
Crystal
right.
said that you got a new review on that.
Yeah, the sad thing
Yeah.
is I basically give them out now because I wrote this book, Crystal and I's Wife, and it's a great book. It's about me growing up, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know how
It's fun.
you got to be Britney Spears to get a #1 bestseller in New York, but I give them
Yep.
out and to the clients, and I'll tell you what, every single person, I'll see them again later. I love the book. The book was,
Yeah.
man, it made me laugh.
Yeah.
It made me cry. It was just like me growing up, this, that, and the other.
And you know what, Paul? Impacting your small corner of the world. I mean, is that good enough? I think that's good enough.
Yeah, that's what I told her. I said, you know what, Crystal, you and I wrote a great book. I always wanted to write a book. I wrote a book. It's a good book. People that read the book, it brings them happiness. I just
Yeah.
wish everybody could, but I can't buy a book for 300 million Americans and give it to them all.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But
Jeez.
that being said, it's raining outside.
It is a good book.
That's
It's
good.
a fun book. I would say
It
it's a
is,
fun book.
and it's not a book where you have to read it through. It's 1 or 2 pages. It's a story,
Episodic. Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah. You
another
can.
story, and then it's
Yeah.
another story. So not that you'd be able to put it down once you start reading it because you can't. But if you
It's
needed
binge worthy.
to, you don't, the next story is totally different than the last story.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I call it almost like a bathroom book. You take it
It
in the
is.
bathroom,
Yeah.
and depending on your personal bathroom
Short
habits,
read.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it could be a short read, or you can finish the book.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition, the July 12th edition of
Yeah.
Live Feed Read. Oh, by the way, Jason, next Friday, we will not be here because I
Okay.
will be in Las Vegas.
Okay, perfect. Because I have to travel for a
Because
convention.
I turn, even though I'm
Drum
Benjamin
roll.
Buttons and I'm really
Drum roll.
40, I'm
Yeah.
turning 60 on July 22nd,
No
believe it or not.
way,
I
Paul.
know.
60.
So
Wow,
me and the
man.
crew are going to Vegas on the 18th, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And so we won't be here Friday.
Yeah.
Pray for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
When you get back, we're gonna have to do like maybe a little mini series, 3-part or something, where we go, what has happened in Paul's life for 60 years? And we'll go back and then like do it
well,
like decade
read
by
the book.
decade, maybe.
Read the damn book.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. True.
All right. Well, we might have a Vegas update a week from Friday.
Not from jail, though.
Well, you
Not
had
from
to go
jail.
there, didn't you? You had to
All right,
go
man.
there. All
All
right. Well,
right.
take us out. We've been
Well, you get
jabbering
back to
about
work
30
and I will
minutes.
too. You got it. You
All
got
right.
it. Let's see. Where is my stream ending? There we are. Yes.
Reed and Reed, it's like having a lawyer in the family.